Um, they're okay, but they could be going better, but things could be worse as well. So I wouldn't despair, as the West Belfast constituency was found to be the most furthest economic left out of all the constituencies in the occupied 6 counties. Well, the British monarchy have presided over an occupation that's been here since 1167. They've oversaw and prosecuted genocides and wars against our people, and they are talking about giving their soldiers an amnesty for war crimes committed in Ireland. It's disgusting, and the people with the command responsibility are Elizabeth SaxeCoburg Gotha and Charles SaxeCoburg Gotha, and yet these are people held up and revered by the British establishment and their imperial forces. Like, America has something like 800 bases in over 70 countries. Britain is not that much different. It has 145 military bases in over 40 countries. It is the same imperial establishment, which is against the wishes and interests of the working people across the world, in my opinion. The American Revolution was a rebellion against George III of the House of Hanover, and that was the same George III who had command responsibility for the Ulster Scots genocide, and his granddaughter Victoria had the command responsibility for the Angorta Moor genocide. However, it should be noted that in the Irish 1798 rebellion, the Society of United Irishmen were inspired by the writings of none other than Thomas Paine, who Comrade Pella named her. And I think that was interesting, as well as the people of 1798 fought for the people of no property, and they vowed that no more shall a lazy lord enjoy the fruits of your labour. That is a rallying against the theft of surplus value in 1798 before Marx, as Comrade Palla pointed out there now. That's why the British establishment were so worried about Brexit, because the biggest British export is financial services, and they didn't want their financial services being sold to Europe being cut off, so the money kept flowing into London, and the city banking system in particular, as Comrade Pella let out, with the money going to the top, which is, of course, the SaxeCoburg Gothas and their assets. And I would also like to remind people that this is the current dynasty, the SaxeCoburg Gothas, which happened due to Prince Albert marrying Victoria Hanover, and thus they became the SaxeCoburg Gothas, and they changed it during World War II, as people suspected with their German surname that they would be sympathetic to National Socialists. However, Prince Philip Battenberg, he was photographed marching with the German Workers' Party, and Elizabeth and her mother were photographed doing a Roman salute to the National Socialists. So it was more of an ideological affinity rather than ethno-national affinity. as much of the British public suspected at the time. James Connolly said, if you raise the green flag over Dublin Castle tomorrow, unless you organise a socialist republic, then all your efforts would have been in vain, as England will rule you through her landlords, capitalists, and commercial institutions. England will rule you to your ruin, as your lips offered hypocritical homage to those who died for the cause. And that was part of his speech during the 1913 Dublin Lockout, which was one of the biggest industrial disputes in Ireland. And it was not only against the Crown, but against the capitalist institutions which ran Dublin and still do run Dublin to this very day. And these institutions are loyal to the British Crown still to this day, as the Free State describes itself as a republic. And it's anywhere they colonised, which is all over their Commonwealth, which is practically across the world, as it used to be said, the sun never sets on the British Empire, because it covered literally every time zone from east to west. Speaking of European monarchies and oppressed nations, Leopold SaxeCoburg, who did the Democratic Republic of Congo genocide of 15 million people, is a cousin of the SaxeCoburg Gothas, who now rule Britain. Britain still has its empire. The Commonwealth of Nations has 54 members, with Elizabeth SaxeCoburg Gotha being the head of state in 16 of those states. Britain is at the highest stage of capitalism in its imperialism, as Commonwealth members must adhere to strict rules on free trade, and this results in economic dumping on the lumpen proletariat in those countries. Irish Central, The Independent, The Morning Star, and the Belfast Telegraph have all reported on Louis Battenberg's paedophilia. The IRA did the right thing off the coast of Sligo. It's not just Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. They are involved in a lot more child abuse than is given widespread media coverage.